have another update today from my Minecraft AI bot project. I've added a few new skills to the bots, and I've redesigned the code to make it easier to provide the code into ChatGPT so that ChatGPT can extend it and write new code for us. I'm going to walk you through that new structure, and then I'll show you what it's like to generate new skill functions with either ChatGPT or Claude 3, which I now have access to. A lot of buzz about Claude 3 right now. I'm excited to test out its coding capabilities, and then maybe if we're feeling like it, we'll try out Gemini again as well. First, let's start with a quick demo. There will be a link to the GitHub repository in the video description. This repository contains a README explaining exactly how to set up your Minecraft server, download Node.js, and create an OpenAI API key. Start by going into Settings, Open to LAN, 3001, Start LAN World. This will allow your bots to connect to the Minecraft server. Once you have the repo cloned and everything installed, change into the source directory and type node main.js. Now you can see we've spawned in two bots. There's one up on the hill. And now we can give them commands. T at alpha, come over here. Thinking, there he is. Let's just show one new skill here. It's called harvest grass, but you can also think of it as mowing the lawn. T at alpha. Let's see if the GPT assistant is able to understand that when I say mow the lawn, I mean harvest grass. Start mowing the lawn. And there he goes. He figured out that he needs to harvest grass. And that's the same thing as mowing the lawn. Collected all the seeds that were dropped from that. Lawn mowed and collected some resources, he says. Let's just do that one more time and try to get it to specify a larger area to mow. Do some more mowing, and this time mow a larger area. And there he goes. You can already see the radius is much larger that he's using to mow. Mowed a larger area and collected additional resources. Now let's just ask him how many resources he collected and what type. What resources did you collect and how much? Collected 14 wheat seeds in addition to the previous resources. He's talking about the resources that were already in his inventory prior to this. So it's important to understand that there are two main components of each of these bots. The first component is the MineFlayer client, which allows the bot to send commands to the Minecraft server. The second component is the GPT assistant, which we use the OpenAI API to create. So this is the main function here. You can see all that it's doing is going through and spawning all of the bots. You can also spawn bots on the fly once your first bot is spawned in. So let's click into this spawn bot skill. You can see on the left that all the skills are in this skills directory, and we have subcategories for the different skills. So one of the subcategories is bot spawn. We go in here, there's a spawnbot.js function. Now this skill function is responsible for creating the MineFlayer bot and then attaching a couple event listeners. You have an on spawn listener, which is going to run through all of the logic that's necessary immediately when the bot spawns. And then the on chat event callback is going to take the commands from the user, parse them, figure out what skill functions need to be run, and potentially send it off to OpenAI to be interpreted by GPT-4 Turbo. Now, if we look at what happens immediately after the bot spawns in the event listener, you can see we're doing some setup for MineFlayer here, pathfinding, and then we're also creating bot data. So this is going to be persistent data that's saved to file, so that each time you start up your main.js program again, you're going to be able to spawn in the same bots. Those are persisted over time. Secondly, you have this idea of creating waypoints and setting the spawn at particular waypoints. I'm actually still tweaking this and trying to make it more convenient. Then at the end here, we have the call to actually create the GPT assistant. So again, this is using the OpenAI API. It's going to use the assistance API specifically. And we're going to create a GPT and a thread and save it in the persisted bot data. Now let's look at what it takes to create this GPT assistant. So there's two files here that it needs to read. The first is the instructions for the custom GPT that's going to control the bot. And the second is the description of all the skills so that the GPT knows what skills it has available. Then once we've read in all the skills, we're actually going to filter the skills based on a particular bot type. So I've created this idea of different bot types. I'll switch to the config to show you what I'm talking about. We look at the config, we have common bot type. It's actually just a list of skills that all of the bots have access to regardless of their type. Then we have the world bot. This takes care of actions like spawning bots and setting waypoints that are not really specific to any particular one bot. And for now, I've added two specialized bot types, craftsman and woodsman. Craftsman can craft a few different items. The woodsman can harvest trees and do a couple of other things. Back to the GPT implementation, you can see we're filtering the bot based on bot type here, and then we're creating this tools object and passing it to the assistance API. Next, let's take a quick look at the instructions that I'm using for these custom bot GPTs. Role, you're a Minecraft bot. Audience, speaking with a player in a Minecraft world. Objective, answer queries and perform the commands. And then it's important to tell the bot to be concise because it's going to respond in the chat window and there's a very little amount of space there. And then I just tell it to use the functions that it has available, which might actually be unnecessary. Now you can see we write the newly created GPT assistant and GPT thread to the bot data so that it's saved, and the next time we start up this program, each bot will use the same GPT. That allows us to maintain context over time so they can remember what they did in a previous run of the program. All right, let's demo a couple more new skills that I've added since my last video. The next skill I'm going to show you is called leveling terrain. So I've built up a bunch of random dirt around him and dug some holes, and in a certain radius around the bot, he's going to level all the ground to the same level that he's standing at. T at alpha, level all the ground around you. Now you can see he's spinning around in a spiral, deleting blocks, filling in blocks. And there, now he's done. The last thing I want to demo here is some spiral exploration logic that I added to the tree harvesting skill. So if there's no trees in the immediate vicinity, he's going to use some spiral pathfinding to try to find a grove of trees. T at alpha, go chop down some trees. There he goes. He's turned left. There you can see he's spiraling around from his initial position. He will also avoid oceans. Oh no, I lost him. Having some pathfinding troubles there. Getting closer to the groves of trees. There, finally, it looks like he picked up on one of these trees. We'll start chopping it down. Sometimes the mine flare bots struggle a little bit to reach different wood blocks. There you can see they'll try to build up dirt to reach the blocks. This has nothing to do with the GPT itself, it's just the mine flare API, specifically the pathfinding extension. There, I'm impressed he actually got the whole tree. It was a relatively hard one to cut down. Chopped down trees and collected more resources. Okay, now let's test his memory. T at alpha, what have you been up to today? Today I've mowed the lawn, leveled the ground, and chopped down some trees for you. What resources have you collected throughout the day? I've collected 19 oak logs, 2 oak saplings, 1 dirt, 14 wheat seeds, 1 egg, and 1 stick today. All right, let's dive back into the code. Looking here at the exploration function, which is actually quite non-trivial. First of all, ChatGPT was the one who told me to use a spiral pathfinding algorithm. Secondly, it was able to provide all this code, direction, steps, step counter, turn counter. This implements the actual spiral pathfinding. I won't go into the details, but it's very cool that ChatGPT is able to create this. I did have to tweak it a bit, but generally ChatGPT provided the initial structure of the function. And you'll see a similar algorithm in the level terrain skill, because again, there we're doing a spiral. So ChatGPT has been creating a lot of spiral code for me. So then the next question is, how do we structure our project to make it easier for ChatGPT to understand? First thing is you can add a function name and path at the beginning of the file like this. This helps ChatGPT do a better job of getting the imports correct. And then for each function, you're actually going to want to put the function into its own file, not including like helper functions. You can see the level terrain function starts with a bot argument, and that's going to be common through all of the skill functions. Always going to start with bot. This consistent structure throughout makes it easy to provide a couple of these skill functions as examples to ChatGPT and then say, write another skill function that does XYZ. So I have this custom GPT that I've created. Basically, in its instructions, I've given it a bunch of example code and told it about the structure of the project. So now it's going to be able to write new code for me. Write a new skill function to craft a wooden axe. Now, just to be safe, we're going to provide it with a couple more examples of what skill functions look like. So I'm going to go to crafting, and then I'm going to take the craft wooden pickaxe function, copy the whole thing, reference code, and then paste in the craft wooden pickaxe. And we're going to have it write a function to instead craft a wooden axe for chopping down trees. Now you can see it's using the same pattern that I supplied in the previous skill, and it's just going to change it to craft an axe instead of a pickaxe. So that's pretty simple. It's pretty much just changing the name of the item that it's creating. Items by name, wooden axe. So that's pretty simple. Let's make it a little harder. Generalize this skill to be able to craft any wooden item. So this is pretty fun. It was able to collect a dictionary of all the different resource requirements of the different wooden tools. And so based on the name of the item that you're trying to create, it's going to figure out how many planks and how many sticks it needs. And then it's going to craft the tool similar to our other craft tool functions. Then we are going to have to go back into the config here and update the craftsman bot type to have the craft wooden tool skill instead of craft wooden pickaxe. All right, now alpha is actually a woodsman bot type. So we need a craftsman bot type in order to test out this function. T at world/spawn bot beta craftsman. All right, and there beta spawned to our current location. Now I'm gonna ask beta to craft a wooden shovel. At beta, craft a wooden shovel. I need wood logs to craft a wooden shovel. Fair enough. All right, I provided beta with the wooden logs. Now let's try again. Still need wood logs to craft a wooden shovel. So what it actually needs is to make planks. Craft 12 planks. T at beta, craft 4 sticks. Crafted 4 sticks, oak logs left 1. Now let's go back to crafting the wooden shovel. Craft a wooden shovel. Now it's walking over to the crafting table, opened up the crafting table, and replied crafted a wooden shovel. Let's just check the bot's inventory to make sure. What do you have now? And there we go, 1 oak log, 10 sticks, 21 oak planks, and 1 wooden shovel. So the function created by ChatGPT was successful. All right, now I want to try the same thing with Claude 3. I'm going to provide it with the same context that I provided to the custom GPT assistant. Let's see what it says. Claude's initial answer is pretty good. It's asking clarifying questions. I want to create a new skill function to craft a wooden axe. Reference code. Ooh, it actually creates a little code block for me. Grab our craft wooden pickaxe function, paste that into the code block. Let's see how it does. All right, so this is nice that it tells it how it updated the skill to craft an axe instead of a pickaxe. Function name and comments have been updated. Recipe retrieval has been updated. The rest of the code remains the same. All right, so it looks pretty good for the simple case. And we're gonna ask the same generalization question that we asked ChatGPT. Generalize the skill to be able to craft any wooden item. All right, again, lists the updates to the function. Function takes an additional parameter item name. That's good. Checks the provided item name is valid. Hits the recipe. Checks for required materials. Crafts and returns success or failure. Now, one thing I'll note with this result compared to ChatGPT's, Claude did not create a dictionary with all of the required materials, so it's not preemptively checking for those required materials, but it does then go through the recipe ingredients and check that all of those ingredients are in the bot's inventory. So actually, this might be a more elegant implementation than ChatGPT's. Seems like it's provided an improvement. See if it works. Copy code, and we're just gonna replace our craft wooden tool implementation from ChatGPT with the one from Claude, and then we'll go test it out. All right, I already made sure that beta has the required ingredients. Craft a wooden shovel. All right, so we did get an error from this function. Required materials is not iterable. So let's take that and paste it back into Claude. Pasting the error. The main changes in the updated code are, instead of accessing recipe.ingredients, we use recipe.ingredient list to get the list of ingredients required for the recipe, and then we destructure the ID and count properties directly from each ingredient object and required materials. Let's give it one more shot, and we get the same error. So Claude does not have a good enough understanding of the MindFlayer API to be able to make this change that it's suggesting. So it's not the end of the world. I do like what it was trying to do. It just doesn't quite remember the MindFlayer API or doesn't have a recent enough understanding of the MindFlayer API. While we're at it, let's try Gemini, get one more data point. I'm just gonna paste in the same thing I pasted into Claude. Gemini explains to me all the code that I provided. Now I'm gonna paste the code example in the initial request. Again, looks pretty reasonable. Now we'll copy the generalization prompt, paste it into Gemini. Looks decent at initial glance. It doesn't specify the required planks and sticks for different types of tools, so ChatGPT beats it on that front. That's just Minecraft knowledge, not necessarily MindFlayer knowledge, but Gemini does add the item name parameter. We're gonna copy that, paste it into VS Code, and now let's try it out. All right, looks like it went over to the crafting table. Success, I've crafted a wooden shovel. Now let's make sure they have 2 wooden shovels in their inventory. How many shovels do you have now? I have 2 wooden shovels now. So actually Gemini was able to give us working code, just wasn't quite as good as the ChatGPT code because it didn't specify the different number of materials that were needed for different types of wooden tools. All right, so we compared ChatGPT to Claude to Gemini. Claude was not able to produce working code. ChatGPT produced the best code, and Gemini did produce working code, but wasn't quite as good as ChatGPT's. Hopefully y'all have learned something about using these AI tools for coding and the limitations of the models. I'll catch you in the next one.